This is a great day in the life of the university because it is the first major event sponsored by the MUSE project and gives us a chance to put an exclamation point behind what all of us who are here and have dedicated our lives and have committed to this university know in our hearts, which is at the end of the day, the legacy we leave as professors, as teachers, as instructors, even as administrators, are the students. Whatever articles I write, whatever changes I make in the world are not nearly as long-lasting, nearly as permanent, nearly as important as the students we launch out into the world and the great good that they do. And so giving us an opportunity to talk about that central mission of the university, to enhance it, to reward it, to ensure that students are able to find those opportunities in ways that truly transform them is critical to the university as we go forward. And so it's a great pleasure to be here. This is a little bit personal, and if you'll excuse a couple of personal anecdotes, I in many ways find myself able to trace my own life very much through the eyes of some very influential teachers. I remember, and I've told this story before at an honors college gathering, but I will tell it again if you'll indulge me. I had I was a political science major because it seemed a fairly convenient route to law school where I could ski 3 days a week or 4 days a week and I could still get through school on time and get to law school. So political science seemed very good, but it had a political methodology class that was quite tough. You had to write weekly papers and really try to understand how one did research. And I was in the class, and about the 5th week in the class, I remember sitting in the back of the class. I got to class early, as you all should do, because you can get the back row if you get there early enough. So I got to class, and at the start of the class, the professor comes in, and he says, "Is Mike Young here?" And I think this is not a good sign. So I figure this is a mistake. There's probably another Mike Young. I'll just keep my hand down. But he asks again. And so finally I sort of sheepishly raised my hand, at which point he said, "Would you see me after class?" You have no idea how long 50 minutes is in those circumstances. Well, as it turns out, he sort of liked some of the things I was doing and invited me to work on a research project that he was doing. And that fundamentally changed my life. For the first time, I realized that it might be possible for me to do something other than simply sit in a class, absorb information, and repeat it back. And it was a turning point, and a significant turning point, and I can trace a number of things from that very moment in my life. But that wasn't the only one. I remember, and there's a lawyer or two in the audience. We have the chair of our Board of Trustees, Randy Dreyer, with us, who is also a lawyer. He will resonate with this particular story because it occurred during my first year of law school. And I remember I had, again, had an extraordinary experience on the margins of my classes, but my classes, it was pretty clear to me, had a pattern to them, which is the professor would give you a book, you would read the book, you would remember the stuff in it, you would repeat it back, and the professor would think well of you. Right? This is a pretty good model of education, it seemed to me. I have a good short-term memory, and so I could repeat it back, and then I could go skiing, and it worked out pretty well. I remember sitting in my first day of law school, and we'd had 3 cases we were supposed to read, written by judges analyzing some legal issue. And I had read the cases very carefully. I could repeat them back with great facility. And the professor walked in and said, "What's wrong with the reasoning of this case?" And my world shifted off its axis, just as Japan did by 20 feet when it had the earthquake. I just shifted. I thought, wait a minute. The pattern is I memorize the case, I repeat it back, you think well of me. You cannot, in the middle of this stream, change the model of education. This is just inappropriate, I thought. But he was very serious about it. And person after person had to be on the hook saying what they thought, not just what was in the book, but to analyze what they really thought about this. And it was terrifying, but in the end, for me, the most liberating intellectual experience I've ever had in my life. And again, one of those pivotal moments that just transformed me. And as I think about the wonders of education and what it can do for us individually and collectively, I think this is one of the most exciting things that's going to happen on this campus this year as we really think about how to ensure that we're able to both provide and encourage students to take advantage of opportunities where they can have those kinds of transformative experiences that really unleash that potential that everybody in this room and everybody at this university has. And so this is very exciting and something, as I hope Mark made clear, is very close to my heart and a real passion. And in that regard, I very much appreciate Mark and Mimi for undertaking not only this conference and this project, but the entire MUSE initiative. It will be something I think we'll look back on some years from now and say that this was an important point for the university and for all the students who came through. But the happy thing is I think we have so much of that that goes on at this university already, and the key is to provide ways of scaling that up and ensuring that everybody has these kinds of opportunities. I look at some of the faculty that are even here today, and I made a few notes because I know a little bit about what they do in some of these regards. I look, for example, at Cindy First, who does just an extraordinary job. She led a team of 4 from the university on an Antarctic expedition. Now, she didn't ask me if that was okay beforehand because I would have been concerned about liability and so forth. But I was delighted to measure the electrical properties of sea ice and to find more about how ice controls our climate. Wind patterns, and we worry a lot about greenhouse gases and et cetera, but they influence not only the atmosphere, they influence the ice, they influence the wind patterns, they influence a whole range of different things. And the idea was to use this information better to think about long-term climate changes and how those would affect the ice packs, and in turn how those ice packs would affect the weather patterns. But the team even included an undergraduate student, David Lubers. Is David here? Warmed up a bit? Okay, good. I think that is an extraordinary example of a kind of opportunity that our terrific professors are able to provide students to do things that are so unique, but again, move us out of our comfort zone into something that makes us very different, that unleashes that potential that we all have within us. Liz Tashton, is Liz here? I don't see Liz. Well, tell her I was asking after her. She has developed the university's student investment fund, which is an extraordinary fund that allows students to work directly to manage a real portfolio of exchange-listed stocks, bonds, money market investments, and so forth, so that, as I've described to Liz from time to time, they lose my money and not their money when they get into the market. But students perform this research individually, in groups. They learn about the various analytical techniques that are necessary to really understand market movements, to understand individual stock movements, and so forth. So when they get out into the world, they have a skill set. They have an analytical capacity that's far above anything they could learn simply by opening a book and reading it. Jim Metherall. Jim, president of our academic senate, makes enormous contributions to this university in lots of ways, but is also an extraordinary teacher. Students in his genetics lab, he has a number of students working there, and they study the mutations that come about as a result of increased cholesterol levels, which contribute to coronary heart disease, which is the leading killer of people, both men and women, throughout the United States. And they understand these students, these processes, through the work in their lab. There's nothing in the books they can read that tell them how these processes work. But getting into the laboratory, actually doing the experiments, allows them to really discover not only a pattern of a scientific method and how you do this research, but the results that come from it and the good that those results do in helping us in an enhanced understanding of our health and how to better protect that health and how to better live. Think of that connection. As you're a student, that you not only learn these skills and these analytical capacities, but do it in a way that also helps you understand how the work that you do makes the world a better place. These are terrific examples of things that already go on at this university with our great professors and our great students. And our goal today is to enhance that, to facilitate that, to make it even greater so that more of it goes on and it goes on at even a better level. And so I'm really delighted to welcome all of you and acknowledge your commitment to this enterprise by your very presence here today. So thank you very much. You're doing a great thing for this university and for generations of students who are going to follow as well. Thank you.